Good morning, Misfits. How are you all? I thought I'd really like to make a little, off the top of my head, OTH, about outbursts. And I particularly feel very qualified to speak about this subject, having been the queen of outbursts for at least 20 years. So I do know what I'm talking about. From a personal point of view, and of course this is only one angle because I'm only one person. Outbursts, now usually they're the result of bottling things up, in my particular case, until they get to the extent where they spill out. And as cathartic as outbursts can actually feel, because you're offloading all of that, you're finally getting rid of all your junk and sort of spewing that out onto another person, usually. Of course, the other person totally doesn't have to accept that energy, but we'll get to that in a bit. And that can feel good. And actually, sometimes that's justified. Sometimes a person has really been pushing your buttons and totally deserves it. Although I would just sort of go on to say, in those outbursts and the lead up to them, there is sort of like a bit of I think they call it red mist. So, in red mist, you're very tunnel vision, you're very blinkered, you're just looking at one aspect, the aspect that's upset you, that's triggered you, that's pushed your buttons, and you're really honing in. And you start to look for things to confirm, to go along with, that feeling of injustice or being angry. And that's fair enough. And like I say, sometimes that is completely justified. But the trouble is with the red mist is you're not seeing the bigger picture. And however cathartic and wonderful that initial offloading may be, it is fair to say that in around 80 to 90% of people, within a few hours, within a few days, that dissipates. That feeling of, self-righteousness will dissipate, and something else will take its place. Regret, usually. Sometimes even guilt. And then a vicious cycle starts all over again, because the bottom line is you haven't really communicated your needs, your boundaries, and I hate boundaries. I think, what kind of world are we living in that we need all these boundaries? But, if there are things that upset you, you absolutely have a right to say. However, what you don't have a right to do is completely humiliate and victimise another person just to offload, your own angst. And there are ways of sort of going about and doing it. And I'm bringing all this to everyone's attention because, this is a new endeavour that we're starting together. And there are going to be times where we get triggered by other people. There are going to be times where we get really pissed off. And there are going to be times when perhaps we want to piss people off. And I just think it would be really useful for us to have a philosophy, perhaps that's the wrong word, a strategy of steps to follow. Because, we could just let it all be a free-for-all, attack whoever you want when you feel like it. But I would just say that really then doesn't make us any different to any other channel, to Twitter, to Facebook. And I thought we were trying to do things differently. And actually, this past week, some of the calibre of comments that are on some of the videos are incredible. The kind of discussions that are starting are not to be scoffed at, so the old outbursts, it can feel really good in the moment, but usually what will happen is there will be some sort of regret or remorse or guilt or whatever, because as the red mist dissipates, you do start to see the bigger picture again. And I've been there. And I don't wish that feeling on anybody either. And of course, there are some people who will never allow themselves to see that bigger picture, because, you know, it's too much for them to sort of recognise and accept that maybe they've gone a bit over the top. And we all are at different stages, you know, we are where we are. But I think it would be really, really useful to have a strategy. I mean, I don't want there to be rules, but I don't want people to be hurt either. And personally, I think there is an email address for the channel. I think if anybody does feel like they've been, you know, victimised or somebody's overstepped the mark, instead of jumping on, making a video to really have a go at the person or to single them out as a baddie kind of thing, it's probably better to send an email in. And you can still rest assured and feel justified that more than one person will be reading your complaint. So if the intention is to sort of embarrass and shame the person for whatever it is they've done, which may be justified, you can rest assured that there are enough managers to sort of read that. And we probably need a specific title for those kind of emails coming in so that we could all have a read. And then they can be forwarded or passed on to, you know, whoever they're about, or there can be like a joint decision, because the whole point of Misfits is that there isn't, you know, one particular boss, and we're all in it really. So I do say wholeheartedly and openly that if I have caused offence to anybody, you know, I think the people that know me know that's just not me, and it was never intentional. And actually, I really love languages, I should just say that, and I'm terrible at them. But I really love to try. God does love a trier after all. And I suppose really I should finish this entire video with one of my fantastic accents, whilst also saying, if you feel it is inappropriate for me to be making videos in different accents, then you should tell me immediately, right now. Otherwise, your complaints later will be folded like a piece of paper, put into my pocket, and then accidentally washed in the washing machine. So I think that's very much the video of today. It wasn't a tea break. I nearly said tea break. And if you don't mind, I have to get back to my menopause. So I'll see you later. Oh, wet hair. Disgusting, I know.